What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to your video. Today, I'll be talking about the top 10 most anticipated NASCAR Cup Series races for 2024. We're going to go from 10th to 1st. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. In the number 10 position, we have the Southern 500. Look, the Southern 500 is going to, there's a couple reasons why this race is one of the most anticipated races for 2024. Number one, it is personally my favorite crown jewel race that remains on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. I like the attrition rating. I like the racing in general. It is very, very fun. The second reason, though, is that this is actually going to be the cutoff race this year in 2024 to decide who will get into the NASCAR Cup Series Plus. As much as I like Daytona as a cutoff race, I love that the Southern 500 is going to be a cutoff race this year to decide who gets into the playoffs. I do wish it's race on NBC. That's why it's a little bit lower, because unfortunately this race is going to be on USA this year, which I'm a little bit questionable on that. I personally believe that this race should be on NBC, and of course the next week after that, which I think is Atlanta, is also going to be, I think, on USA as well, or NBC. I think every race should be on NBC, in my personal opinion. But I think Southern 500 is definitely one of the most anticipated races going into the 2024 season. In ninth, you have the Bristol Night Race. Now, a few years ago, I would have said the Bristol Night Race was way higher, because I always enjoy and love the Bristol Night Race. However, one of the reasons why I'm putting the Bristol Night Race a little bit lower is because of the racing with the next-gen car. Look, I know that this is only a short track, but they use the intermediate package, and the racing at Bristol in the last couple years has not been as great. I think the 2023 edition was worse than the 2022 edition, and I'm very worried that the race will not be as good in 2024. But a big reason why it's anticipated is because it is a round of 16 cutoff, and I think that it is going to overall be a very solid, hopefully a very solid race, but I'm not entirely sure. But I always love the atmosphere. The atmosphere is always absolutely incredible at Bristol Motor Speedway. They're going to have two races there in 2024, though I'm not as much anticipating the spring race as I am the fall race. I'm excited, though, for the Bristol Night Race that is definitely going to take place later this year. In the number 8 position, I'm talking about the North Wilkesboro All-Star Race. This is definitely going to be a little bit controversial because the 2023 race, admittingly, was not very good. The racing was very underwhelming. It was very difficult to pass, and Kyle Larson just completely dominated. And also, it is going to have a repave. But a big reason why I'm extremely excited about North Wilkesboro is I have always been a fan of North Wilkesboro, even though it was my first race I got to watch live at the track coming back. I really enjoyed the truck race there last year. I thought the truck race was really, really good in 2023. The one that Kyle Larson won, some really good battling. And I thought the All-Star Open actually was really solid and good. They're going to have some new changes to the track. They had a repave, which I'm not exactly sure if that is going to provide an amazing and exciting race overall. But I'm definitely excited, definitely for the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. I think it will be, hopefully, a better race than we saw in 2023. And let's just hope that Kyle Larson doesn't have as dominant of a car as he had. And let's hope someone doesn't dominate and you can actually pass, because we saw some improvement with the short track package. Hopefully, you'll be able to pass and see an overall pretty good race. In the 7th position, you have both races at Kansas Speedway. Kansas Speedway, in my opinion, is probably the best mile and a half on the circuit currently at the moment. I think every next-gen race that has happened at Kansas Speedway has been absolute barn burners. The first race in 2022, you had a really great finish between Kurt Busch and Kyle Larson. The fall race in 2022, you had amazing racing. You got to see Bubba Wallace's second career NASCAR Cup Series victory. The spring 2023 race, you had probably the best race of the season, and you got to saw Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson battle for the win. And then the fall race, you had a really amazing finish. Probably the worst of the 4 races that happened there, but still an amazing race in general. Every Kansas race seems amazing. This is the best mile and a half track on the NASCAR circuit, currently in my opinion, and I think we're going to see a very awesome and exciting racing at both Kansas races in 2024. I expect it to be really fun, really, really good, and I think Kansas put on a pretty good show, and I'm anticipating both races being good in the 2024 season. In the number 6 position, you have the Atlanta Motor Speedway playoff race. I could kind of care less about the second race this season being Atlanta Motor Speedway. But I am extremely excited to see that Atlanta Motor Speedway is actually going in the playoffs. Now, granted, I'm not a big fan of having 2 super speed races in the playoffs, but Atlanta Motor Speedway, over the course of the last 2 years, when they repaved this track, I wasn't excited for, but I think the racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway has gotten better. Especially this race taking place in September. It's still going to be really, really warm out, and the track is going to have a lot of wear in year number 3, which I think is going to create some really exciting and fun racing to watch. There's an opportunity to still go 3 wide with this next-gen car, and the racing in super speedways with the next-gen car has gotten better over the course of the last few years. So I think that we're going to continue to see more improved racing at this racetrack over time, and I think that with this race opening up the playoffs, I think it is going to be a very fun and exciting race for sure to watch. I think a lot of people will be tuning in. I'm definitely excited to see this race, and this race currently sits number 6 on my list. In the number 5 position, we have the Chicago Street Course. When this event came around a few years ago, I was not a fan of it. When they made the idea of it a few years ago, I wasn't a big fan of it. But last year's race, in my opinion, in 2023, was actually a very solid race. It wasn't amazing by any stretch of imagination. It is definitely helped by the fact that you had rain tires coming into play, and you did have Shane Van Gisbergen win. But this track, you could actually pass that and saw some solid racing throughout the field and some really exciting and fun strategy to watch. Now, unfortunately, the race did get shortened due to weather coming into play, but I really think that the Chicago Street Course is really going to have a much better turnaround. I don't think rain and weather will be as much of a factor. Apparently, according to people who live in the Chicago area, basically they had a lot of rain come through that area for the first time in months. They had like a drought in the area, and then when NASCAR came to town, they had a ton of rain. Also, I think the event itself will be much better this time around, and I think the Chicago promoters are going to do a much better job to make sure this event goes through and goes extremely smoothly. So, I think the Chicago Street Course will definitely be better this time around, and I am anticipating a very exciting event at the streets of Chicago. In the number 4 position, we have the return of Iowa Speedway. I am super pumped up and excited to see that Iowa Speedway is back on the NASCAR schedule. And for the first time, it is going to be on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Of course, it's been on the Xfinity Series and Truck schedule for many years. The first time they ran there, I believe, was in 2009 for Xfinity and 2010 for the Truck Series. The racing in Xfinity and Trucks was always very, very good. Now, I'm not sure how it's going to be for the Cup Series, but because they do have multiple grooves at Iowa Speedway, I think it actually could be a pretty good race. And it's going to be a 350-lap event, so while it's not going to be an extremely long race, it's not really going to be a short race either. And I think that you're going to see a lot of big things that certain people will do. I wouldn't be surprised or shocked if Hy-Vee, which is working with IndyCar, I wouldn't be surprised or shocked to see Hy-Vee come into play and maybe work with NASCAR to try to create some sort of concert series when NASCAR heads there in 2024. This event's already sold out, and also a big thing is that Iowa is the opener for NBC in 2024, which I think is overall a good and solid decision for NBC, by the way, for this race to be the opener for them in 2024. I'm excited for the return of Iowa Speedway, and I think the racing itself will be really, really good in 2024. In the number 3 position, you have the Coca-Cola 600. I think this is absolutely one of my favorite races over the course of the last few years. Before 2022, the racing at the Coke 600, this event had really lost its luster. But this event has gained its luster back because, in my opinion, the next-gen car has raced exceptionally well in both of the last year's Coca-Cola 600s. You had an amazing finish in 2022, and you had great racing in 2023 as well. I thought the 2023 race is one of the best races, and 2022 had the best race of the year at the Coca-Cola 600. But another big reason that this is really anticipated is because Kyle Larson is going to run the double. Obviously, Kyle Larson's main thing he does is run in the NASCAR Cup Series, but Kyle Larson is going to be attempting the double. He'll be running the Indy 500 and also run the Coke 600 on the same day. I think that Kyle Larson will have a great chance to win both races and compete in both races and complete the double. This race, I think, is going to be really exciting. I think it's overall, in general, going to be a very, very fun race for the fans that are tuning in. I am exceptionally looking forward to this. I think the race itself, like I said, is going to be very, very good, and I'm looking forward to the Coke 600 in 2024 in more ways than one. In the runner-up and number 2 position, I have the return of the Brickyard 400 being in second. This, in my opinion, is one of the most anticipated races in the last 5 years. The last time the Brickyard 400 had race was 2020, and Kevin Harvick won the most recent event. There's many reasons why this is one of the more anticipated races. This is the 30-year anniversary of this race. And also, like I said, it's return to the oval, the right direction. I think last year's race on the Indy Road Course was actually really exciting and really, really fun to watch. But you can't forget the regular Brickyard. It's a 30-year anniversary. I think that this is going to be the most attended Brickyard 400 in probably over a decade and a half. Probably the most since 2009 or 2010, because a lot of people are going to be going to this race. And I think the one reason why I'm really actually pumped up and excited about this race is because of the fact that the Brickyard 400 is, like I said, returning, of course. But the reason I'm excited is because some of the racetracks that are similar, like Pocono, actually put on some really good and fun racing. So I think that could actually lead to the Brickyard 400 putting on an overall good event. Again, the Brickyard 400 has not always been the best race in the world, even in some of the best eras of the sport. But I think this could be one of the better Brickyard 400s for sure. I wish this race was after the Olympics. That's why it's not number 1. But this race will be going into the Olympics, and we'll be hyping up some of other NASCAR events that'll take place a little bit later in the season. I'm excited for this race. I think it's going to be really strong. I think it's going to be overall an amazing race, and glad to see the Brickyard 400 is officially coming back in 2024. And the number 1 and most anticipated race in 2024 is, of course, the Daytona 500. This race always kicks off NASCAR's biggest season every year. This, I believe, will be the 66th Daytona 500, if I'm not mistaken. And there's already a lot of big names that are entered and more new cars entered as well for this event. We are about a little over a month away from that Daytona 500, and I always get pumped up and excited for this event. Now, the broadcast stuff that Fox Sports has been doing could definitely be a lot better for sure, but I think the racing at Daytona is always outstanding. It's an amazing facility. It puts on great racing and puts on, in general, an amazing show, and I think the Daytona 500 in 2024 could be one of the best Daytona 500s we have ever seen. I think because the super speedway racing in the last couple years, especially last summer at Daytona National Speedway, the racing itself was phenomenal and absolutely incredible. So I'm extremely excited about it. I'm looking forward to the Daytona 500 this upcoming season, and like I've already mentioned, I think that this will for sure be a candidate for potentially the best race of the year. I think the last couple have been really, really good. You, of course, had some good races in 2020, 2019, you name it. I think super speed racing has gotten better in general too with the next gen era, and I think you're going to see overall an amazing and exciting Daytona 500 in 2024. And for me, what I believe is the most anticipated NASCAR race of 2024, because once the Daytona 500 happens, the NASCAR Cup Series season will officially kick off. So, those are the top 10 most anticipated NASCAR races going into 2024. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Links description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's video. What race are you most excited about headed into 2024? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, there'll be a couple videos dropping on the channel. Actually, Monday, there'll be a NASCAR news video dropping, and we got a lot of great content dropping as we're only about 3 weeks away from the Clash and about a little over a month from the Daytona 500. I'm really excited to share what I've got in store, and I can't wait to share everything we've got coming out. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.